They told you death is freedom, the end of suffering, the release from this heavy, painful world into something lighter, something infinite, something better. But what if death isn't freedom at all? What if it's the most elaborate trap ever designed? Picture the moment your body fails, your heart stops, the room fades, and suddenly you're weightless, floating above your lifeless shell. The pain is gone, the weight is gone. You feel expansive, liberated. Then you see it, the tunnel, the light, that indescribable warmth pulling you forward like a magnetic force you can't resist. Everyone says this is it. This is heaven. This is home. This is where you finally rest. But what if that light doesn't lead to freedom? What if it leads to a reset? What if everything waiting for you on the other side, the beings of light, your deceased loved ones, the life review, the comforting voices, what if all of it is theater? A carefully scripted performance designed to do one thing: convince you to come back, to reincarnate, to forget, to start over. Again, the ancient Gnostics discovered this. They saw through the illusion of the afterlife and recognized it for what it truly is, a recycling system. A soul trap built by a false god they called the Demiurge, maintained by entities called Archons, designed to keep you locked in an eternal loop of birth, death, memory wipe, repeat. In this video, I'm going to reveal exactly how this trap works and how the Gnostics said you can escape it. Listen carefully. Your eternity might depend on it. To understand the reincarnation trap, you first need to understand the Gnostic view of reality itself. The Gnostics weren't just another religious sect. They were spiritual rebels who believed that the material world you're living in right now is not the creation of the true God. Instead, they taught that this entire universe is a counterfeit reality, a prison constructed by a false god they called the Demiurge. The Demiurge, according to Gnostic texts like the Apocryphon of John from the Nag Hammadi library, is an ignorant, arrogant entity who believes himself to be the supreme creator. But he's not. He's a distortion, a shadow of the true divine source. The Gnostics described him as Yaldabaoth, a lion-faced serpent, blind to anything beyond his own creation. And his creation? This physical world of suffering, limitation, decay, and death. You are not your body. The Gnostics were clear about this. You are a divine spark, a fragment of the true eternal source, trapped inside flesh and matter. Your soul doesn't belong here. It fell into this dimension, or was lured here, and the Demiurge's entire system is designed to keep you here, lifetime after lifetime. Now here's where it gets disturbing. Death, in the Gnostic framework, is not liberation. It's a checkpoint. It's the moment when you're most vulnerable, most confused, and most susceptible to manipulation. Because the entities that run this system, the Archons, the rulers and gatekeepers appointed by the Demiurge, they know you're going to die. They've been waiting for you. And they have a process. You've probably heard about the tunnel of light that people see during near-death experiences. It's described across cultures, across religions, across thousands of testimonies. A warm, loving light. Deceased relatives beckoning you forward. A sense of peace. The Gnostics would tell you to stop. Turn around. Because that light is not the true divine source. It's a recycling center. Think about it. If you were running a farm and your livestock kept escaping, what would you do? You'd build a fence they couldn't see. You'd make the gate look like freedom. The tunnel of light, according to Gnostic teaching, is precisely that, a beautifully disguised gate that leads you right back into incarnation, into forgetting, into another cycle of suffering. And the worst part, you'll go willingly. So how does this trap actually work? Let me break down the mechanics, because this isn't vague mysticism. The Gnostic texts are shockingly specific. When your physical body dies, your soul exits and enters what's called the intermediate state. You're no longer bound by time and space the way you were. You have expanded awareness. You might even feel euphoric, because you've been released from the density of matter. But you're not free yet. You're in the in-between, and this is where the Archons go to work. The Archons are described in Gnostic literature as parasitic entities, rulers of the material realms, servants of the Demiurge. They don't have divine sparks like you do. They're artificial, or at least fundamentally different, hungry, envious, and absolutely dependent on human souls for sustenance. Some Gnostic scholars describe them as feeding on emotional energy, fear, worship, suffering. This is why the system is built the way it is. Here's the sequence as described in texts like Pistis Sophia and the Secret Book of John. Step 1. The Life Review. You're shown a review of your life. Every mistake, every regret, every moment of pain you caused or experienced. This isn't for your growth, it's for your guilt. You're made to feel incomplete, unworthy, like you failed. The message is clear. You need to go back and fix it. You need another chance. You need to learn your lessons. Step 2, the loved ones. You see deceased family members, friends, spiritual guides. They look real. They feel real. They tell you it's time to come home, time to move toward the light. But the Gnostics warn that these are often imposters, thought-form projections created by the Archons to manipulate you emotionally. Because if you see your grandmother, your child, your soulmate, you'll follow them anywhere. Emotional attachment is the hook. Step 3, the contract. You're presented with a new life, a new body, new lessons to learn, new karma to balance. It all sounds so spiritual, so fair. But here's the key. You're making this choice from a place of amnesia and manipulation. You don't remember that you've done this 1,000 times before. You don't remember who you truly are. You're a divine being with infinite potential, and you're being convinced to sign up for another round of limitation, pain, and control. Step 4, the memory wipe. Before you incarnate, you pass through what the Greeks called the river Lethe, the river of forgetfulness. Your memories are erased. You forget your past lives, your divine nature, your true home. You're born as a blank slate, helpless, dependent, ready to be programmed by family, society, religion, and culture. And the cycle continues. This is why you don't remember your past lives. It's not because reincarnation isn't real. It's because the system requires your amnesia to function. If you remembered, if you knew you'd been a king, a slave, a mother, a soldier, a saint, a sinner across hundreds of lifetimes, you'd start asking questions. You'd start resisting. You'd start waking up. And that's exactly what the Demiurge cannot allow. The Nag Hammadi texts, discovered in Egypt in 1945, contain over 50 early Christian and Gnostic writings that were hidden for over 1,600 years. These weren't lost. They were buried on purpose, likely by monks who knew the texts would be destroyed during the rise of Orthodox Christianity. Why? Because they contained knowledge that directly contradicted the power structures of organized religion. They taught that salvation doesn't come from worship, obedience, or belief. It comes from gnosis, direct inner knowing of your true divine nature. So why were the Gnostics so adamant about warning people? Why did they risk persecution, exile, and death to preserve these teachings? Because they understood something that most spiritual systems don't want you to know. Reincarnation, as it's commonly taught, is not a gift, it's a sentence. Think about every major religion or spiritual system. Almost all of them teach some form of afterlife judgment, moral accounting, and either reward or punishment. Heaven and hell, karma and rebirth, the weighing of the heart. It all sounds different, but the structure is the same. Behave, obey, suffer virtuously, and maybe, just maybe, you'll earn your freedom. But the Gnostics said no. They said the game is rigged, the judges are corrupt, the courtroom itself is a fabrication. You're not being evaluated by a loving God, you're being processed by a system that profits from your return. Let me give you a modern parallel. Have you ever noticed how near-death experiences have become more widely reported in recent decades, yet the narratives are strangely uniform? The tunnel, the light, the beings of love, the life review, the choice to return. It's almost scripted. Now, I'm not saying all NDEs are false. I'm saying we should ask why they follow such a predictable pattern. Could it be because we're encountering the same construct, the same dimensional checkpoint, the same archonic processing system? There are, however, anomalous cases. Experiencers who report being warned not to go into the light. People who describe feeling manipulated or sensing that something was off. Researchers like Dr. Raymond Moody, who pioneered NDE studies in the 1970s, documented thousands of accounts. But even he admitted that not all experiences fit the blissful narrative. Some people report encountering hostile entities, feelings of coercion, or existential dread. The Gnostics would say, these people caught a glimpse behind the curtain. And here's the uncomfortable truth. If souls are recycled, if memories are wiped, if we're kept in a loop, then this reality functions as what some researchers have controversially termed a lush farm. Lush is a term popularized by Robert Monroe, founder of the Monroe Institute and an out-of-body experience researcher, to describe emotional energy that certain entities harvest from human suffering and joy alike. Whether you call it lush, energy, consciousness, or worship, the principle remains the same. We're feeding something, and reincarnation ensures a constant supply. This isn't about scaring you. It's about waking you up to a possibility that changes everything. If the system is designed to keep you unconscious, then your greatest act of rebellion is awareness. So what do you do with this knowledge? If the reincarnation trap is real, if the Archons are waiting, if the light is a lure, how do you escape? The Gnostics gave us a roadmap. It's not easy, but it's coherent. First, cultivate Gnosis. Gnosis means direct experiential knowledge of the divine. Not belief, not faith, not obedience to doctrine. It's the inner knowing that you are not this body, not this personality, not this lifetime. You are eternal consciousness, temporarily wearing a costume. The more you awaken to this truth now, while you're still alive, the less likely you are to be fooled at death. Meditation, inner work, shadow integration, self-inquiry, these aren't just wellness practices. They're training for the moment when you leave your body. The Gnostics practice techniques to consciously navigate the afterlife, to recognize deception, and to remember their divine origin even in the intermediate state. Second, reject the false light. At the moment of death, if you see a tunnel or a light and feel pulled toward it, pause. Ask yourself, is this the true infinite source, or is this another construct of the Demiurge? The true divine doesn't need to lure you with illusions. It doesn't need tunnels or guides or emotional manipulation. It simply is, and you, as a spark of that source, can return to it directly by will and awareness. Some Gnostic texts recommend invoking specific prayers or mantras, asserting your sovereignty, and commanding any entities to step aside. You are not a servant. You are not a sinner. You are a divine being reclaiming your power. Third, refuse the contract. If you're shown a life review, if beings try to convince you that you need to reincarnate to learn lessons or balance karma, question it. Who benefits from your return? Not you. You've been here countless times. You've learned, suffered, loved, and lost more than you can remember. The only one who benefits from your amnesia and return is the system itself. Say no. Assert your intention to return to the true source, the pleroma, the fullness beyond all form and limitation. Fourth, remember who you are. This is the hardest and most essential part. The memory wipe only works if you've forgotten your divine nature. But if you've spent this lifetime waking up, deprogramming, questioning, seeking truth, you build a momentum of consciousness that can carry through death. The Gnostics believed that souls who achieved Gnosis could navigate the archonic realms, bypass the traps, and return home. You're not powerless. You never were. The entire system depends on you believing you are. So here we are. You now know what the Gnostics spent centuries trying to preserve and protect. The Demiurge, the Archons, the reincarnation mechanism, the tunnel of light, the memory wipe, all of it designed to keep you unconscious, compliant, and endlessly recycled through lifetimes of limitation. Does this mean it's absolute truth? I can't tell you that. No one can. But I can tell you this. The fact that these teachings were suppressed so violently, hidden so thoroughly, and ridiculed so consistently should make you wonder. Why? What's so dangerous about people knowing they might be divine beings trapped in a false reality? For me, this knowledge changed everything. It made me question every assumption I'd been handed about life, death, morality, and purpose. It made me take my inner work seriously. Because if there's even a chance that death is not the end, but a test, then I want to be ready. I want to be awake. I want to choose my path consciously, not be herded like livestock through a spiritual slaughterhouse. And I think you do too. Otherwise, you wouldn't have watched this far. So what now? You take this knowledge, you sit with it. You test it against your own inner knowing. Maybe you research the Nag Hammadi texts yourself. Maybe you explore your own consciousness through meditation or study. Maybe you just file it away and let it simmer. But whatever you do, don't forget. Don't let this become just another interesting idea that fades into the noise. Because if the Gnostics were right, remembering is the only weapon you have. The Demiurge wants you asleep. The Archons want you afraid. The system wants you obedient. But you're starting to wake up. And that changes everything. What will you do when you see the light? If this video opened your eyes to something you'd never considered before, write, "I choose Gnosis" in the comments below. Let me know you're awake. And if you want more hidden knowledge like this, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because we're just getting started.